let's just go in here. Let's just come up here to the camera. Let's just go. Tell us we're going to go in there. Just let us stick your thing for a second. We're going to go power back before we destroy this lesson. So just come in.
Destroy it.
Yeah, we're going to do it. Take it. This is just. What's your name?
My name's Paul.
Paul, what's your name? Queen?
I'm teaching
Queen, oh, beautiful name. This is Paul and Queen. Paul's teaching Queen here. And we have, even though the walls are very thin here, I'm gonna show them some of my double bass technique.
Why not?
Okay? So what's gonna happen right now is you're gonna do like an earthquake happen in this room. So bear with us right now. They're gonna put this on TV too. Okay, so Queen, you're gonna see yourself on TV, okay? Very, very good. So we'll get you guys in. Thanks for being patient.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much, guys. And that's where I'm whipping it. So now if I use the motor technique in my hands and in my feet simultaneously, I can match that power and that speed with my hands and my feet. So now think about it. Playing a single stroke over with just your hands, your feet, you put it both together, you got some power in here that all of a sudden just takes the sound and makes it that much higher.
As I said, this is about Dom Famularo, and yeah, it's not just, I'll take the ladies away, it's not just Australia that loved him, it was the whole world. I don't think I know anyone who hasn't been touched, have been influenced by Dom Famularo and his teaching and his constant travelling ever. He was on my show in 1996, and he just opened his arms to everybody. He treated everyone the same. He walked in as if you were his best friend, that kind of thing. So tonight's show is about dear Dom Famularo. A lot of people are hurting today. Cancer got him, and he fought the battle. He's 70. I'll read about him a bit, and I'll talk about him a bit. And there's a kind of synchronicity with it, because everything I'm talking about I've already done on the show just over the last month, and it's sort of crazy for that. It's just I suppose synchronous, that kind of is. Anyway, so I'll be doing a bit of talking tonight, and I'm going to start right now, and I'll give you a quick biography. Dom Famularo, 26th of August 1953 to September the 27th 2023. Was an American drummer, drum teacher, author, clinician, and motivational speaker. As I said, 26th of August 1953, born in Long Island, New York, and stayed there as a New Yorker. Age 70. Years active, 1966 to now. Famularo was born on Long Island, New York. He started playing when he was 11 and became a professional at the age of 12. There you go. He began his career as a performing jazz drummer. He studied under some of the greatest drummers of the 20th century, including Jim Chapin and Joe Morello. With a passion for jazz and inspiring others, he began a successful drum teaching career, becoming one of the most sought-after clinicians of his time. Some of the most successful jazz and rock drummers had instruction from him. Famularo was called drumming's global ambassador due to the many places he visited and vast number of people that heard him speak each year. He was known for his open-handed playing style. He was the first Western drummer to perform clinics in China. There is a gigantic list of countries that he taught in. Let's just say the world. Every country in the world. He just visited everybody. He treated everybody the same way. Like I said, when I met him in 1996, in those days I was with the Zappa Instrumental doing all the Frank Zappa business. I filmed him at Billy Hyde's in Flemington, in Multan Street, doing his clinic there, and he was a hoot. He was so funny. And all he had was a snare drum and a bass drum with his double kick pedals, which he was quite proud to say, I've done these. These are the double bass drum pedals of death or something like that. Not death, but you know what I mean. He just loved them. And his foot technique was like, how'd you do that, Dom? You know, that kind of thing. And his thing was with his education, whatever you do with your hands, you do with your feet. So he was terrific with that. So, and he was like the MC for all drumming MCs. He was just, did expo after expo, you know, sort of thing. So my thing with him was, in those days, back in 96, I was travelling around with a camera on my shoulder filming everyone, nearly went bankrupt, that kind of thing. And just the effervescent smile that he had for everybody, and such kind words. And he followed up too, is what it is as well. So what happens is, like when we're starting to talk different things, like I've got certain things here. One thing I remember from the show that I did with him in 96, essentially what I think I interrupted myself. I did the filming at Hyde's, and then he was in Australia, and then he was there for the Drum Tech Ultimate Drummers Day, which I was also playing at, and I was busy going through the black page, doing the black page, because the band used to play that all the time back in the day, and I homogenized all the notes to a 5-piece drum kit, you know, so I was playing all around, did a special arrangement for it. And I'm looking up, I'm nervous enough, and I look up and there's Dom right off to the side of the stage going like that. And I'm going, bloody hell, Jesus, what's going on? You know, kind of thing. And then I gave him one of my books. I'd only just started. It was the first year that the drum set syllabus was released. And I gave him a book and the syllabus itself. And out of the blue, about a month later, my fax machine, remember fax machine? Ticked off at about 6 o'clock in the morning, and it was the most beautiful letter, most beautiful fax, one of the most beautiful things I've ever read. I had a breakthrough, finally, and it was him. There you go. Now, I'll go into what he would talk about. One of his big things was the molar technique. I've made so many jokes about that. I did it just the other week. Vaping, the vape straw. Where he had Sanford molar. One of his things that he always said is that when he was coming up, the big three, really, when you're thinking about technique, drumming technique, was Sanford Moeller, Billy Gladstone, George Lawrence Stone, people like that. And with that, he also put in Jim Chapman, and we'll get to Ted Reed too. But he always said with the big three, like Moeller, Gladstone and Stone, they had passed away before he started. So he basically said, well, who were their best students? And he became a champion for Jim Chapman. He basically put down like his 5 favourite books, which I have here. I've played through them. I only talked about them just the other week on the other episode. And I'll get into that. And essentially, that's his thing. He also would talk about, he played open style, so he would... And when he soloed, he was explosive, and his dynamic range, and I only talked about that the other week, his dynamic range was from a whisper to a roar in seconds. Like, he'd start out like, who remembers this bit? Isn't he famous for that? And with his smile, just doing that, like that. And then all of a sudden, and the China cymbal, straight up, the vertical China cymbal. Then he played sideways. He always set up his kit sideways, so the audience could see exactly what he was doing with his feet and his hands and everything like that. Like, I've got the camera in front. I don't know what's happening with that one there tonight. That's the first time that's happened. Bloody hell. So anyway, but what it is when you've got it like that, it's like the fortress sort of thing, but he would have it off to the side so you could see everything. So he's always off to the side going like that, Bip, 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 bip. There you go. And this, he would demonstrate like, you've got to get finger control, a la Billy Gladstone. So he would do that. I do that all the time with my kids. You've got to treat it like a basketball rather than like a hammer, if you know what I mean. There you go. So I've talked about the biography of the man. There's much more to it, because everybody knows a bit of him, like that kind of stuff. His generosity is renowned. His effervescent smile is renowned. He loved life. He'd make jokes. He'd crack jokes. His drumming mirrored his personality, his humour, and all that. There'd be a sly wink at something. One of his big things was his feet, like. Like that. You can watch him all day long, really, because then he'd go from that to... And then with things like this, he never did me. He shared everything. And the thing that I have here is his 5 favourite books, or the 5 books that everyone must get and read through it. I've already done this. I did this not 3 episodes ago. Stick Control for the Snare Drummer by George Lawrence Stone. There you go. Advanced Techniques for the Modern Drummer, Jimmy Chapman, my original one, back to the early 70s with Harold. There you go. Syncopation for the Modern Drummer by Ted Reed. My students often call it Stinkopation. And then he mentions great teachers like Alan Dawson, who took over from Joe Morello with the Dave Brubeck quartet way back when, who used to have something like 50 different ways of playing through the book. I would go through it like that. You'd take the triplet page, and it's all for reading and stuff, but you take the triplet page or the semi-quaver page, put it on your feet while you're playing paradiddles with your hands and all that. And then George Lawrence Stone's second book, which is Accents and Rebounds for the Snare Drummer. That one there, early 60s release, very old. And did I not put this up on the show just the other week? New Breed, Gary Chester. And the idea of territories playing around, and the 39, if people remember it or have it, the 39 different little ostinatos and then the melodies that you put with it. So what would happen is that with these kinds of books that Dom Famularo would champion, you could sit there and just sort of get like... So triplets, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3. You know, he was doing that. Like when I filmed the clinic, that's all he had. He had a snare drum and a bass drum with his Camco double pedal at that time, 96, so what was that, 27 years ago. Brrr. There you have it. So there's that. And when you're doing it, like I've done things with paradiddle. Single stroke roll with the bass drum, paradiddle with the snare drum. There's a clip out there where he just goes through stick control, first page, and he just plays them, and then he says, do it with the feet. So I've got a second bass drum over here, tuned slightly different. I might take the orchestral harp out for a second. That's meant to be ringy. Barrel, barrel, like that. So if you're doing, say, some of the rudiments like left, right, right. There you go, you see, you get all these different things. Now that's the precursor to the Bosio ostinato stuff, then the Gary Chester, all this sort of stuff. You can get that kind of little tidbits that he would say when he's talking about the books, like Jim Chapin's Advanced Techniques book. Apparently that was John Bonham's favourite jazz book, kind of thing, when he was talking to the people that were around John Bonham in the day. All that. So it all comes together. You know, that kind of. Now I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that he did. Seeing I'm talking about the time when I met him for the first time. I met him, like, the main times I met him was in 96 and then again in 98 when I was playing both of those drummers' days, that kind of thing. And I've got this picture of him where we went for the obligatory picture, and just as my friend snapped, he's just gone like that, and I've gone. So I've got this picture. I'll put it up here. And what I did today, I delivered the show, like the show that I made a few weeks ago to 31 for airing next Wednesday. Very early, actually. Got up a bit early and all that, which is unlike me. And then I went and just started making coffee and all that. And then, of course, you click on the phone, and the first thing I got was he'd passed away. I knew he'd been ill. And so tonight, I hope, will go up next Wednesday as a matter of love and urgency kind of thing. I was ready to do some jokey show about footy, because seeing it's doing this on grand final holiday. Da 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 da, something like that. But no, this is one of these ones. This is a special one. So one of the things I want to do and keep going with his legacy and what he was able to do and what he did for so many people. The funny photo with me getting like that, with his effervescent smile. He always, every photo has the same kind of look. It's just like, I love everyone. Everyone loved him. And I'm doing a lot of mallets, so I'll go to the snare drum because that's what he was really big on. I'll get the Evelyn Glennie COVID sticks happening. This is how he started the show. Well, at least the show that I made with him. That's what he did. That's his style, like that. With everything that he championed, Jim Chapin's molar technique, the Vierping stroke, free stroke, all this sort of stuff. His abrupt dynamics, he was one of those things. One of the things that goes on with endorsements and endorsees and stuff, I've been a bit outspoken about that over the last week. I hope I still have an audience. But what it is I'm sure he would have wanted to kept us to be funny. So what it is one of the things I got when I first started with, what can you do for us? How long have you been playing our gear for? Murray Hyde saying, Chris, how come you're playing that kit when I know that every favourite drummer, all the Bozios, Wackermans, everybody else, are all playing DW? So I went and saw dear Paul Mosum, who I talked to last Sunday. Trying to think. Every time I mention Doris the DW, I mention Paul Mosum. He helped me out, and that was, 27 years ago. And you stick with the good people. That's what you do. All this stuff. Who remembers the Jim Chapin video? I've got it on old VHS somewhere, where he is just in front of just Jim Chapin, snare drum with a practice pad on it and the camera, and he spent nearly the whole thing going, this is what I do here, that's what I do there, and that's the whole thing. And you were still mesmerised because it was just pure, sublime technique. Vierping, all the time. There you go, you see. Vip. And you could do it anywhere else. I've done plenty of shows on that, but this is for dear Dom Famularo, who championed Jim Chapin, started talking about Ted Reed, started talking about George Lawrence Stone, drum teacher to the Stars, all this sort of stuff. And one of the things about I'll go back to the endorsements business. Because he had his endorsements with Sabian, one of the things I sometimes would overhear when I'm making a show is you'd have some rep would say, bloody hell, we've given him $4,000 worth of cymbals and he's doing nothing but playing tom-toms, sort of thing. And that sort of business. You see, when you've got your different things, you play your sounds, that kind of thing. I saw Benny Grebb's tribute to him. He was like trying to stay straight too with that. And these are Benny Grebb's cymbals, right? I had to listen to them like, what? Fantastic. As I said, dynamic. is all Dom Famularo, you know, dynamics. Vertical China. Oh! And so it goes. Now I'm just sort of whacking away a little bit to sort of give you a rundown of the style, but I'll start to really put a few things together for you and stuff. But what I'd love to see when I found out and everyone just took a step back, I just typed in Dom Famularo into Facebook, right? And it just kept on going. Kept on going. And that's the influence of the guy. And what it is the things that he was able to champion. He not only had that, but he had the book Cycle of Empowerment and all that. And it was always, you know, positive thinking, all this business. But he would follow up, as well as the show, as well as the photo of me going like that, getting squeezed by, I'll put it up there, you know, like that. We were younger men, 27 years ago. But he'd follow up. I've got about 15 years of emails, and some people have more. Some people have it like regular contact, regular all the time contact. When I finished the full syllabus and all that, I put it all in a box, sent it off to New York, that kind of thing, and I got this incredible email back saying he's passing the books around to his students to see what do you think, and then coming back to me with, wow, all that sort of stuff, this kind of business. When I last saw him in the late 2000s, I know he's been to Australia since, but when I last saw him, and I went into his little talk, it was a business thing, actually, at one of the drummers' days. As soon as he saw me, he's gone, and he made me stand up and explain it all, explain the syllabus. He actually gave over his time to give me 5 minutes. Now, who does that these days, right? And that's the kind of man he was. I've already gone well over time, but I started a bit late because of this. I don't know what's happening with that phone. But I'll have everything up. I've got 4 cameras here and hopefully they're working. And I'll have all this up as soon as possible, given it's grand final weekend. But what I want to do is play for him. He did one other thing that I haven't mentioned. I got a phone call about a decade ago, I suppose now. It gets a bit blurry after a while. My age. Hey Chris, you're in Modern Drummer magazine. I go, what? What are you talking about? One of my students rang me up. Chris, I just bought the Modern Drummer magazine, you're in it. And I go, what? What are you talking about? And so next thing I know, out of the blue, hadn't spoken to him, he put me in the International Drum Teachers Register. No money. Just does it. A whole bunch of us, all around the world.
We're gonna go power back before we destroy this lesson, so just go.
Destroy it.
Yeah, we're gonna go into this. What's your name?
My name's Paul.
Paul, what's your name? Queen?
My name's King
Queen,
Queen.
oh, beautiful name. This is Paul, Paul's teaching Queen here, and we have, even though the walls are very thin here, I'm gonna show them some of my double bass technique.
Why not?
Okay? So what's gonna happen right now is you're gonna do like an earthquake happen in this room, so bear with us right now. They're gonna put this on TV too. Okay, so you're gonna see something on TV, okay? Very, very good. So we'll get you guys in.